Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another episode of The Comment Section. I'm Reagan Conrad. One of the longest standing couples in Bachelor Nation, arguably a favorite in recent years, were Rachael Kirkconnell and Matt James.
I just know with all my heart that I love you and
I can't propose to you today.
And before you say, Reagan, I don't watch Bachelor, I don't care, I would say, number one, this story has a history that I think would interest all of you. And number two, this story also has a lesson for the ladies and gentlemen everywhere. Even my boyfriend, who has never watched a single minute of The Bachelor, is getting into the Rachael Kirkconnell and Matt James breakup drama. It's for all of us. Now, to quickly catch up to speed, their season of The Bachelor was filmed during 2020. Only a few months after the Black Lives Matter protests and all of the listening and the learning that followed that. So although Matt and Rachael fell in love while filming the show, and she ended up being the girl who got the final rose, Rachael ended up getting canceled by the internet from the time that the filming wrapped until the time the show was actually premiering to the world. Because while their series was airing, a photo of Rachael went viral of her from a couple years ago wearing an antebellum dress to a Southern formal at her college. The white girl Rachael from The Bachelor who dated Matt James is all over white TikTok, and honestly, I do not care about her tears because she dressed up as a slave owner's wife at an antebellum party. She's not a good person. I don't get the hype. He sucks too, by the way. A slave owner's wife.
This is for Rachael, you big, fat, white, trifling, dirty, white, racist, oompa-loompa, body ass.
There's so much to unpack there with just the fact that she was wearing a historic dress. She wasn't like waving a Confederate flag being like, I'm pro-slave. I mean, what? That girl I remember she got destroyed on the internet. She was like, I'm sorry. Like she wasn't even... Rachael Kirkconnell's racist antebellum Confederate past brought down the Bachelor franchise. Chris Harrison got fired because he went mask off fighting for her. Matt James wasted 4 years of her life, no proposal in sight, only to dump her in her favorite place, messy. That tweet was messy. She's like, got Chris Harrison fired. Like, no. The internet got him fired. By the time the final episode of the season was premiering to the public, an episode in which Matt and Rachael ended madly in love, the real world was tearing her life apart. And then on live television, this woman who was nearly going to be his wife was publicly shamed and broken up with. But to deep dive a bit further in this, I just had to play a bit of this clip to kind of bring back the 2020 vibes. Remember the absurdity that our country was going through, which really culminated within pop culture on this show and in this episode. I remember this so vividly because I was so done with the show after this. Oh, it made me so mad. He loved her, and yet he let her just get torched. This is alive, okay? They were dating up until this point. The public didn't know that, but obviously they were dating because the show ended with them being together. And then on live television, this is what he says to his love.
Disappointing thing for me was having to explain to you why what I saw was problematic and why I was so upset. And that's why it was problematic, because
the word problematic. Everyone has to go research why that's problematic because none of us actually knew. You know what I mean? Like, even I bet he didn't know the history of there were certain parties held in the South that did celebrate slavery, and that's what people were trying to say this was, which it obviously wasn't. So he really like went back to try to make it something.
When I'm in a relationship, it means that I'm committed to that person. And commitment for me, when I'm dating someone, is on track to get married.
When he's dating someone, he's on track to get married. Mental note that. Also, he was the Bachelor, so he signed up to a dating show with the specific intent goal of getting married, getting engaged 2 months later.
And so when I questioned our relationship, it was on the context of you not fully understanding my blackness. I had to take a step back for you to put in that work that you outlined that you needed to do. And that's something you got to do on your own.
Put in the work, Rachael. Marrying a black man is not enough. You're clearly still very racist.
Do the work. Do the work.
We can't be in a relationship.
I remember this. I was so mad. They had him on as like a special guest that episode because they were like trying to cover up the fact that they thought that their show was like becoming racist. It was so performative.
The woman he fell in love with, not the woman from 2018, but the woman he fell in love with is the woman sitting in front of him right now.
She can't sit there and state the obvious. How do I show him? Well, I love him. All of him. She joined the show because she knew he was going to be the Bachelor.
really what I tried to explain to you when we had that talk was you were the only reason that I decided to do the show.
See, she's trying to say it right there.
And that includes every single part of you. And that obviously includes you being a Black man.
He's like, shoot, she pointed out the obvious. Oh no. Because I can just see him looking at her being like, I'm sorry, I'm just saying this because we're on live television and like, we're going to get right back together because it's exactly what happened.
Well, Matt, is the door even slightly open for relationship reconciliation here?
The feelings that I have for you don't go away overnight. And seeing you like this hurts. But then I ask myself, like, I don't want to be emotionally responsible for those tears.
I don't want to be emotionally responsible. That's a crazy thing to say. I'm shaming you on live television for something you did when you were in college that you didn't even know that you were doing was semi-offensive to some people. And then it's like, I don't want to be emotionally responsible for shaming you in live television. Yeah, I bet you don't.
The work and the reconciliation that needs to be done is work that I can't do for you. And I know that you're capable of doing it. And the last thing I want is for people to be calling to have you canceled.
Sir, this girl was put through hell for months. They were doing exactly that. And then you're on live television being like, you need to do all this work because you're clearly a racist, but don't cancel her.
Nobody ever outlines what the work is.
Right. You just have to do,
some
the work.
Okay. Can you give an example of the work?
She posted on social media saying that she was sorry. She posted links to Black Lives Matter. And she posted, please don't defend me. I remember being like, everyone is defending her. And she's like, no, don't defend me. I'm horrible. I'm so bad. I did this horrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, that's one way. Cave to the mob.
Cave to the mob.
If in fact you do never see him again, what would you finally like to communicate with him?
Evil. So evil. She's in love with this man. They were going to get engaged on the show.
And I am sorry. And I thank God for never putting you in my life to begin with. And
I have to stop. I have to stop watching this because it's so painful to watch. I wish I could go back and tell this sweet, sweet Rachael to run. Run now. Save yourself the next 3 years. The breakup should have ended here, truly. Unfortunately, it did not. It's such a painful video to watch. He didn't stand by her. He didn't acknowledge the fact that perhaps the names being thrown against her, like being a racist, were simply untrue because of her actions alone, like dating a Black man and loving him madly. You would think that that evidence enough would prove the accusations were false. But the internet convinced him otherwise. And the fallout from this, the iconic Chris Harrison host, he got fired for trying to defend her. Honestly, the whole show just fell off after that moment and that final rose ceremony. I think many of us stopped watching the show for that because it was so maddening. And further proof that this was all just for show and to please the mob at the time, because shortly thereafter, they started dating again and have been dating ever since for many years. Until last week.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
Now, before you go saying, well, of course there were red flags from the start, obviously. Sure, their early start to the relationship is quite maddening, especially to watch back. But I also saw their redemption kind of symbolic of the years after 2020, when the rage and the anger subsided and people were able to look at each other without looking for division. Over the past few years, their relationship has become beloved. They would post almost daily together about his food blog. He would make remarks about marrying her or engagement rings or their future, both to her directly and also to the fans. I wonder if his food blog ever reviewed Dose, because if they didn't, they should have. Because Dose isn't just another generic weak supplement. It is a hard-hitting, science-backed support for your body's most crucial filter, your liver. If you're looking for a natural way to promote and maintain your liver health, I found a clinically supported, potent, and effective solution to share with you. Your liver handles over 500 different functions in your body, so it's important to keep it healthy with Dose. And the results speak for themselves. Clinical trials showed over 86% of people got major improvements in their liver enzyme levels. So want to know what makes the difference? One shot of Dose packs the same punch as 17 shots of turmeric juice. It's designed for peak performance, supporting energy levels, digestion, and overall liver function. And there are no BS ingredients. It's clean, sugar-free, and engineered to deliver results. So start giving your liver the support it deserves. Save 30% off your first month of subscription by going to dosedaily.co/Conrad or entering Conrad at checkout. That's dosedaily.co/Conrad for 30% off your first month subscription. So when this photo was recently posted on Instagram, it shocked everyone, including Rachael. This is their first meeting, obviously, on The Bachelor, and it says, Father God, give Rachael and I the strength to mend our broken hearts. Give us peace about this decision to end our relationship that transcends worldly understanding. Shower our friends and family with kindness and love to comfort us, and remind us that our joy comes from you, Lord. Because initially I read that without knowing the context of this, and I was like, okay, a weird kind of thing to share publicly, like a prayer that you clearly have within your relationship, or, you know, your ending of your relationship, but weird to share that publicly. But then I learned that she didn't know this was being shared, or really that the relationship was like fully over. And then I was like, hold up. That's like a kind of prayer that you would say like between each other if you're ending something, or you're like hoping that maybe you get together in the future. But right now, like, I can relate to a similar prayer like that. So I'm not dissing the prayer. I'm dissing the fact that he chose that to be the caption and then didn't communicate to his significant other, former significant other, that he was going to be doing that on a public platform. This is a 4-year-long humiliation ritual, apparently. Yeah, because according to Rachael, a week prior to that breakup post, they were talking about kids and marriage.
Did that go the way you thought it was going to go? Nope.
Then, a mere 2 hours after she was blindsided in a breakup, he posted a public breakup announcement. Also, while she was boarding a plane, apparently, and then she didn't know this was going on for like 12 hours. He broke up with her on vacation. Her family found out via this post. I mean, that's wild. Not good.
This guy's a tool.
It does not look good for him. I don't know if he thought saying the prayer would make him look better, but like, bro, that makes you look worse, because now I'm putting you at a higher standard, and then you come in and just blow that up. Women everywhere, and men, were melting down or relating to her story. How can I be expected to do anything today when Matt James and Rachael broke up with the most insane breakup caption I have ever seen? Matt has been posting with her and commenting about her like they're together in the past 24 hours and with no further information, because they were on vacation together, posting like everything was normal. And then this just out of left field. Oh, it was so crazy. Here's one TikToker talking about it.
That man was never going to marry her. I don't know what you guys thought, but the second he left The Bachelor and instead of proposing to her, he said, let's just be together, I knew he never intended on marrying this woman. Wasted her time for 4+ years, dragging her along. She was begging to get married. He benefited greatly by being with this beautiful woman. His social media career, his nonprofits, all the support she gave him for his marathons. And this ridiculous Instagram, like, Father God, give Rachael and I the strength to mend our broken hearts. Give me a break. This man wrote this whole speech 4 years ago when they left the show.
Yep, I knew he wasn't ready. Guys like him will waste years of your life and then marry the next girl 5 months later. Someone else said, my ex wasted 9 years of my life, which I would argue you should take a little bit of personal responsibility there, because you also didn't leave. It's a relationship. 2 parties can exit at any point, but 9 years is...
That's why the 3-year rule is so important.
Yeah, we should talk about the 3 year.
When you go one day past the 3-year rule, the divorce rate goes up.
I'll get into my relationship in a bit, because...
But also the younger you are too, that rule goes out the window a little bit.
That's fair.
But if you're older...
That's fair, yeah. I agree with that rule, frankly. I knew I wanted to marry him in 3 years, so we should have got married. No ring after a year was the hugest red flag, since he was on a show to get engaged. There's a lot of talk that he has issues with his family and his father, and then that's why he doesn't want to get married, because he's afraid of kind of being like that. Why did he ever go on a show called The Bachelor if that's the case? I mean, that is like, that is the last person that should be having issues about wanting to get committed and married if you literally went on The Bachelor. Pretty shortly after the breakup, she sat down with Alex Cooper from Call Her Daddy and discussed the relationship. And she recalled how the words were there, but the actions weren't, which was a point that I thought was really interesting and I kind of wanted to touch on in this episode. And here's an audio clip from the interview when she was talking about what he actually said when they were breaking up, where he suddenly had the realization that he had no intention of marrying her.
It was just one of those things where he, I think, just had this realization that I should want to propose to you by this time. Like at this point in our relationship, I should be wanting those things. And I should be ready for that, but I'm not still. I still don't feel like we're ready, or I don't feel like I'm ready. I don't know if I ever see myself proposing to you. I can't actually see myself married to you.
Here's another clip from Call Her Daddy that went viral.
So I guess our third year of dating was when I started to just ask, like, okay, so where is this going? He seemed like he was on the same page.
I just want to point out, she said 3 years into the relationship, she again asked, okay, so where's this going? Which I would argue from the jump, that should be the discussion.
It was like just confusing to look back on now. When we would talk about things, he always seemed like he was on the same page, privately and publicly. I honestly think we talked about family and kids more than anything.
Like, it's one thing if they're not talking about that kind of thing, because you could be like, well, Rachel, you weren't, she literally was talking about it all the time, and he was too. Oh, that's so tough.
I think when you picture your life, you have an idea of what it's going to look like, and now I'm like, I have no idea what life looks like from here on out. And yeah, it's sad to like think about these. I'm trying not to laugh at myself, but like, yeah, I'm like picturing these kids that are obviously like no longer a thing.
That line
which,
was like the one that really got me.
I'm not trying to sound like an insane person, but
you don't sound crazy.
Visualizing the kids that won't ever be like, breakups are so tough. That's so hard. Another girl said, men will really waste 4 years of a girl's life and then hit her with the, I don't want to waste your time. Ugh. Someone else said, this is heartbreaking. So many women give up their prime years to men who are using them as a placeholder. Oof. If a man hasn't told you that he wants you to be his wife after 6 months, you do not owe him any exclusivity. I held this standard for myself, and I was engaged in 6 months and married 6 months after a proposal. So this girl, Bobby, has the 6-month rule.
That's even better.
Which, again, I'm not going to argue. It's like, these are not hard and fast rules, but also because age and other factors. But this girl made a good point about this rule.
If the Matt James and Rachael Kirkconnell breakup teaches you anything, it should not be that love is dead and you can't believe in love anymore. It should be that this is why you don't let anyone to keep you as a girlfriend for 4 years. 1.5 years. And if I did not have this thing by 2 years,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And that's not because I'm not in love with my man. I absolutely love him to death. And it would kill me not to be with him. But you know what would kill me even more? Is him knowing how bad I want to get married. I'm ready for the next step. I'm ready to have kids and all. I mean, I don't know the full details, but I do know that Rachael has mentioned that she has been waiting for the ring for quite a while. Not to mention them meeting on The Bachelor 4 or 5 years ago, where she thought they were going to get engaged in 2 months, but I digress. A man, a real man, would have said years ago, listen, I will not be ready for marriage or whatever for the next, let's say, give me 5 to 10 years. This way, the girl can say, well, I'm not going to wait that long. So she could have called it quits by 1 year, 2 years, whatever.
What do they say in relationships? Communication is key. Just talk. Just communicate what you want, what you don't want. It can save years. Someone said, Matt James quite literally saved Rachael from a horrible relationship. Yeah, with him. Matt James just wasted 5 years of Rachel's life. Like, I bet he had no intention of getting married to her ever, and he just used their argument as an excuse to break up with her. Their sudden end to the relationship started from an argument about where to go for food, and then it just blew up into something that was clearly festering for days, months, years. He was clearly looking for a way out. And frankly, given the fact that he just so abruptly, but finally, told her that he couldn't see her as his wife, honestly, in the long run, is a good thing. And I'm saying that doesn't immediately make him a villain. It's more the question as how long he had that information known and chose not to share that with her that makes all the difference here. Because knowing that and then acting the exact opposite and talking about rings and talking about marriage is legitimately evil. Unfortunately, too many women and men related to this. The moral of the story here is that I think we need to change our outlook on what dating actually means. For so many couples, especially within Gen Z, many of us almost view the first year or first years of dating as a time to hang out, get to know each other, have fun. And in that mentality, I think the purpose of dating has been lost in many ways. Because then, years down the road, when you start asking, well, what is this? Are we getting married? What's the plan? Years of your life have already gone by. And if there is a decision from those conversations that results in a breakup, it's so much more painful because your lives are that much more intertwined and you feel like you've wasted years of your youth with this person. And on the flip side, there's also a risk of settling down solely out of convenience. My husband and I fell into that purposeless period of dating, where we knew all along that the goal was marriage, but we got lost in the day-to-day fun and friendship of it all, And years passed before we had those serious conversations again. And that track ended up causing a very difficult stretch in our story. It is a story to break down another time, and by the grace of God, he is now my husband, but I have felt those troubles of long-term dating in my own life, so I can certainly relate. I have seen it with my friends too, years in relationships that don't go anywhere, and then they're looking at rings within months when they move on to a new one. If you at all relate to any of this, or you know nothing about the dating game, there is one book that I would highly recommend everyone reads. It's called Single, Dating, Engaged, Married. I think it's by Ben Stewart, which this does apply to all of the people in all those categories, so it's really a great read for everybody. But this is the first book that I read that really discussed the idea of dating without a purpose. My husband actually threw out that line of dating without a purpose when we were unpacking this last night as I was writing this episode, and I thought it was fitting to share here. Like a ship without a compass, floating along, perhaps not even in turbulent waters, but one that is certainly not headed toward its destination. So our advice is set goals in a relationship. Have the hard conversations, and then have them again. Please have them. Establish a purpose in the relationship from the jump and then work toward that outcome. It might end up saving you years of your life and, most importantly, get you anchored to the right person. Thanks so much for watching today's episode. If you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video if you enjoyed it, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Thanks so much and have a great day.